Oh hey guys, my name is Kevin, aka Hakuna La Planta. I have 150 plants in my bedroom, so why don't we go and take a look. I live in downtown Toronto, and I've lived here for 7 years. My bedroom houses 99% of my plants, and being in there, it's kind of like being in a jungle. When I bring people in, their reactions are like in shock. They're really in shock. I collect tropical houseplants. I generally find them very interesting. There's different varieties. There's so many that look so different from each other, even though they're in the same family. And so those are the main plants in my collection. You know, when you first walk in, you kind of are greeted by this, wire shelving here. Specifically, I like to keep plants that I want to keep an eye on. So I do have a few propagations in these bins. As you can see, there's supplemental lighting in the form of LED grow lights. So you have one at different levels. And so you can see that the grow light is very, very close to the plants. So if we go into this corner, I do have a lot of Monstera Thai Constellations, and I'm just gonna grab one just because I love these plants. But all these plants kind of came from a single plant, and it's kind of my favorite plant, to be honest. I think there's a lot of history in just like knowing how much I cared for this plant and just seeing these cute little Monsteras. I don't know, I just love them so much. This is the Phalaenopsis Miki Japanese Pearl. I'm thinking it's a hybrid of a few different orchids, but I just love the cascading blooms and the speckly, I guess, purple against the white. The last time she had flowers was probably a year or two ago, and so I'm very proud of this, that she's back in her beauty, I guess. This is the Philodendron Brandtianum, and this plant is known to be very tricky because the leaves tend to need a lot of humidity, a lot of spraying while there's a new leaf coming out. And so I've decided to attach a moss pole to it, so that's what's behind it. Moss is a substrate that can hold on to a lot of water. So while the moss pole is wet, there's kind of like a little kind of environment around the leaf where there's a lot of humidity, and therefore kind of the best environment for these leaves to kind of come out unscathed because it is a very challenging plant. It's not one that I kind of recommend for beginners. This plant is a Scindapsus. You can see here that I'm training it up a moss pole, and I, in my opinion, think this is an easy plant. Definitely a plant that I would recommend for beginners. This is the Monstera Burle Marx Flame, and the reason why I like it is obviously, the leaf shape is just so unique. They start out as these small little, that's where it gets the name, they kind of look like flames. As it grows, it kind of gets these fenestrations, and those are the splits in the leaves, and they kind of look like a creepy Tim Burton Monstera if you look at it. It's nice to see that this plant is getting a lot more attention because I think it's just a stunning, stunning plant. I don't want to say she's my favorite, she's maybe my second favorite. So I worked full-time as a nurse, and in about 2020, I started my YouTube channel, Hakuna La Planta, and it kind of just grew from there. And I actually have been told by a few nurses and doctors that they do see the same care that I kind of give my patients. It's very similar to the care I give my plants. So when it comes to watering my plants or taking care of my plants, I usually take 2 to 4 hours every 2 days, I would say, on average. And it could be various things. It could be, propagating, it could be watering plants, it could be changing nutrient solutions, and just seeing who needs what when it comes to care and just assessing from there. A lot of people might think this is, really cramped, but again, think about how plants kind of form their own environment around them. And, you know, they kind of feed off each other's, you know, humidity and microclimates. So I have a lot of my big Hoyas under here. This is my Hoya Cutis porcellana. Native to the Philippines, its translation is porcelain skin. The flower is known to have these porcelain-like blooms. And a lot of Hoyas, sometimes when you give them a lot of light, they get this like sun stressing. So you can see that at the top of the plant, it's pretty red. And then down here, it's like a light green. I guess they kind of tan when they're subjected to a lot of light. And that's okay, like this is totally normal to see. This is my south-facing window. You can see that it's floor to ceiling. I always tell people, and something that I've learned, you need to give your plant leaves the best view of the sky. If the leaf can see a good view of the sky, then you're giving it enough light. This Anthurium Regale up here, this plant is known for having a tough time in low humidity, which was very shocking to me because this leaf came out, hardened off in the winter. But this plant is known for having like a big sinus. That's the space between kind of the lobes of the top of the leaf, and just that intense kind of like glowing veining. And she's kind of like a centerpiece. Like she's just like here in the middle of the window and just so beautiful. I talked about my Monstera Thai Constellations and how I propagated this plant a lot. And so my mother lives here. You can see how big she's grown, just up and out of the pot. And the newest leaf over here is just big and beautiful, lots of fenestrations. The variation is just to die for, in my opinion. She started out as like a small little plant, and now she's just a big, huge mother, and I do have a lot of babies, and so this plant is definitely my favorite, and a lot of people know me for my Thai constellation. A lot of people think that, you know, it's very challenging growing like large, lush tropical plants, but anyone can do it in any environment. And, you know, if you're living in Toronto, you definitely can. You just need to give them the right conditions, you need to give them the right nutrition, the right light, and really just educate yourself.